Anything? Okay, thanks everybody for coming. We'll open the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thanks again for coming. We'll start with the approval of the agenda with additions, deletions, and corrections. We do have one addition to old business number 2, the F number 2, Minnesota Wi-Fi agreement, which everybody has on the table in front of them. Anything else? Teresa?
No, I don't.
Yeah, anything?
No.
Quick. Fine.
You covered, yeah.
Yep, they're gonna, yep. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Dan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. On to the consent agenda. Everything was in the packet. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Wait a second.
Second.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Visitor to the council. Mr. Babani.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to present recommendations for the structure and sales method for a bond issue to fund your 2017 improvement project, which is a very large project, as you know. There's a variety of recommendations I'm going to make. In your packets is a letter, and behind the letter there are some spreadsheet exhibits. If you could go to the one that on the bottom right says master cash flow. You can read the letter, but the recommendations are all represented on the spreadsheet itself, and I'll walk you through those. And I see we're technologically advanced here, so I'll just wait for everyone to nod that they're there. Great. Okay. Well, the first recommendation is typically how much money do we need to borrow? And that's fairly easy to do. You know, we look at the construction bids, we look at how much engineering you need. The engineers usually have us factor in a little bit of contingency because there usually seems to be overruns and things, change orders and things of that nature. There's a variety of issuance costs involved, and then you have your bond amount. But if you were to look at the sources of funds, you'll notice that we're downsizing the bonds by over $800,000. And that's not to say it's money that you don't need. It's money you need. It's money you'll need to find to spend. But the reason I'm not including it in this bond issue this year is because the city is also looking at a $3.2 million loan from the state of Minnesota through its Public Facilities Authority to pay for the large sewer project that you have. There is something called bank qualification when we issue bonds, and if we issue more than $10 million in a calendar year, it means the bonds we issue are considered non-bank qualified. If we want to get into the weeds, it has something to do with carried interest at banks. But basically, what it means to you is if we issue bonds as non-bank qualified, we're going to pay a higher interest rate, about a quarter point higher. Well, if you pay a quarter point higher on a deal of this size, it could add up to over $150,000 in increased interest expense. Interest that we don't need to pay if we can find an alternative strategy. So if we were to take the size of this bond issue plus the size of that PFA loan that's coming later this year and keep the combined total under $10 million, and then leave the $800,000 that we'll deal with next year. Now, next year, maybe we'll find that we don't use all of our contingency, or maybe you underspent some of your budget and built up some reserves, so that maybe next year, instead of doing a supplemental borrowing for $800,000, maybe we do something for, $500,000, something like that. And we have ways to sell bonds. If you were to look at these issuance costs, you can see how expensive it is to issue bonds. If we can get something down to $800,000 or less, we can do an issue for a fraction of these costs through Minnesota Rural Water's, what they call their MIDI loan program. So my thinking was, let's size this issue, get as much done this year as we can because interest rates are known. You might say, well, why not just go ahead and split this, make it even smaller and save more for next year? And the reason being is I was figuring, let's get as much taken care of now when interest rates are known, and they still seem to be fairly low. Then if interest rates rise, it'll only apply to roughly 800,000 as opposed to 7 or 8 million. Yes, sir.
Just to clarify to the council and everybody who was at the assessment hearing, I think you responded to an email that I had brought up to possibly using some funds that we have at the liquor store to put toward the assessment. And so when we dug into that, I think the recommendation was not, because we're saving that cash for this particular purpose was one of the reasons. So that idea that I had is pretty much not a possibility, so just
I don't recall the liquor store conversation.
What's that?
I don't recall the liquor store
Well,
conversation.
funds held, we have
the
fund
funds.
balance.
Oh, sure,
Versus
yep.
using the funds, those will be kept dry for the 800,000.
For the next year
Right.
piece, very good,
Right.
yep. Okay, so that has to do with the size, that's the reason it's been downsized. The next option, or recommendation, has to do with statutory authority. You'll see there's 3 spreadsheets involved here. There's the master spreadsheet, which you as decision makers are gonna be mostly interested in. There are 2 subschedules, that break the bond into 2 other pieces. Don't be confused, we're doing 1 bond issue, but the underlying statutory authority that we're identifying, we're gonna identify 2 different pieces of authority. So I created a subschedule for each one of those pieces of authority. One is, sewer and water authority. Basically, the only requirement there is that you pledge sewer and water revenues to cover the payments. So the very last spreadsheet has to do with the enterprise funds. Storm sewer might have been involved in that as well, yep. The other authority has to do with the special assessments, that's the second spreadsheet. And another reason to bifurcate these bonds into the 2 subcategories is because the level of assessments that you are planning to use by law for an assessment bond have to be 20% or more of the total. If we looked at how much you were planning to assess and compared it to the overall $7 or $8 million project, you're not gonna do 20% of the total. But by separating out the utility portion and then just leaving the street portion, you are assessing at least 20% of the street portion. So that's why we're separating 2 different pieces of authority. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, because I never know how to articulate that, and I get rambling, so. All right, next recommendation, term, how long, how many years? We've identified 15 years, for a variety of reasons. One has to do with, what you told folks for special assessments. When they have their assessment certified, how many years will they get to pay it off? We'd like the financing to mirror the term of those assessments. Also in planning with staff behind the scenes, trying to fit in, tax levies and so forth, where we needed them to be. 15 years was the term. Whenever we're dealing with streets, you know, obviously the shorter the term, the better. We could do up to 30 years, no way, not for road improvements. 15 is actually about as long as I would ever suggest for a road improvement project. As far as some of the other bond details, if you were to look at the main spreadsheet on the right-hand side, about half the way up, you'll see something that says call option. When cities issue bonds, typically when you put them out there, you provide a promise not to prepay for a period of time. Now, if you had your choice, you'd want these bonds to be prepayable day one, without penalty, without fee, complete flexibility. But put yourself in the shoes of potential buyers of these municipal bonds. They're gonna do a lot of work researching Casson, deciding do they wanna invest their money in Casson. Once they make that decision, they don't want you to pay them off next year. And so you could issue bonds without a call option feature, but you'll probably pay a higher interest rate as a result. So the trick is to set that call option feature out there long enough that investors will wanna buy your bonds and yet still provide you the flexibility that you'd like as a city. And typically 7 years is sufficient to get that done. It's the nice balancing point between interest rate and flexibility. So that's why you see a February 1st, 24 call option feature. Now after that date, call it on any day at par, no penalties, no fees, okay? So you will have your flexibility, it's just 7 years down the road. You'll notice in the issuance costs, we will have a rating fee. What is that? That's where we hire a Standard & Poor's to basically assign the city a credit rating. Why do we spend the money to get that credit rating? Because the resulting interest rates we get for having been rated will, the lower interest that we pay over the life of the deal will far exceed the fees that you pay for the rating in the first place. Okay, so on a deal like this, it was almost, I mean, it was a no-brainer. Go ahead and have this thing rated. Also in the issuance expenses, you'll see something called underwriter's discount, and there's a 1% of the bond issue assigned to that. By law, you can offer up to 2% of the bond issue as discount. What is that? If you go to the market and you offer $6.78 million in bonds, potential investors are not going to pay you the full amount. What they're gonna do is pay you something short of the full amount, piece up the bond issue, resell it to all their customers for full price. That's how they make a profit, right? So we're usually selling to someone like an investment bank who has customers who want to invest in municipal bonds, and it gets pieced up. I believe by offering 1% discount compensation, that's plenty of compensation. We should get bids on that. Usually, I'm offering 1.25% to 1.5%, but because of the size of this bond issue, I think 1% is sufficient. Now, it might be that when we do this actual sale, we don't use the full 1%. That would just be the max that they could have. Which leads me into another recommendation, and that is, let's do this competitively. Let's bid this thing out just like a road project. So where you bid out quantities on blacktop and length of pipe and things like that, what we're bidding out is principal. All those principal payments would be put out there, and they would bid those interest rates. See those interest rates kind of fluctuate over time? They would bid all those interest rates, and they would bid that underwriter's discount, and we kind of mush that together to get the overall interest expense. And whichever deal gives us the lowest net effective rate, that would be the deal that you would offer. Now, it would take about a month for us to put together the official statement, secure the rating, and then to hold that competitive sale. So that's why we have it scheduled a month from now on June 14th. So what would happen on June 14th in the morning, we would take the bids, we tabulate them, verify their numbers, bring the results to you that night, and make a recommendation for award. You would close on those funds about 2 weeks after that. All right, I better stop there and see where questions take us.
People have the opportunity to pay their assessment up front.
Yes.
They front load the whole thing, pay the whole $7,000. What happens to those? Are those funds held in escrow, or does that, I'll let you take it.
Well, what happens in Nancy's books is that she's gonna create two funds. She's gonna have a debt service fund and a construction fund. The construction fund is where you put the bulk of the money you pay for the project, and eventually the construction fund goes away. The debt service fund stays alive for the life of the bonds. When you get prepaid assessments, they go into the debt service fund, and you can dwindle those down. Now, while it might sound like prepaid assessments is a great thing, you say, hey, one in the hand's worth two in the bush, well, you won't be earning the interest on the assessments, right? And this cash flow is based on folks paying their assessments with interest over time. You will get some prepaid assessments. So not technically in a structured escrow, but it will be in a separate fund that you're going, and through your resolutions that you will adopt, you covenant that that's bond holder money.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Which, oh, Mayor, that does remind me of another key point. We are in a market today, you know, interest rates seem to be fairly low. And I will tell you, your crystal ball is as good as mine in determining where rates will be, not just today, but tomorrow, next month. But would you all agree that you have a sense, a year from now, maybe it's 5 years from now, do you all have a sense that rates will be higher than where they are today? I mean, it's kind of in your belly, you feel it, right?
You got a good chance they aren't gonna be lower.
Well, the reason that's important is because when people are buying bonds today, they seem to be buying bonds at a premium, meaning they're actually not discounting the bonds like I'm showing here, they're actually paying more for the bonds than what par is. So what happens is they want to pay a premium to get those interest rates that you see on there. They want to jack those interest rates up to, let's say, 3%. They'll pay a premium to just get that 3% stamped on there, because they know 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road, when they want to sell those bonds, they own your bonds and then they want to sell them themselves. If interest rates are higher, they don't want to have 1% stamped on their bond, they want 3% stamped on their bond so they can sell it. So they're willing to pay premium for that now, which means there could be quite a bit of money coming back to the city in the form of a premium. So in the underlying documents, we will states that folks bidding on these bonds, that if we get a large amount of reoffering premium, we reserve the right on the bidding date to reduce the size of this bond issue. So let's say we have $100,000 in premium, we'll reduce this bond issue by $100,000 on the day of the sale. Maybe you didn't care to hear that, but
No,
you just made me think of it, so. You look forward to death.
So what do you need? What do you need for
It's
the
always
second?
fascinating.
Okay,
Mike.
the only thing we're asking you to do tonight is to adopt a resolution that sets the sale date for June 14th.
Okay.
Recognizing that what's gonna happen as a result of that is I'm gonna work with staff, we're gonna get the official statement prepared, we're gonna order the rating, and be back to visit you again in a month's time.
Perfect. Any other questions for? Thank you very much for the information.
You're welcome. Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Mayor.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution of setting the sale date of the bond issue for June 14th.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second. Thanks, Coy. Any further discussion? All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Resolution passes. Okay, no committee reports. F, old business, number 1, fire department uniforms. Anybody wanna?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, sure. Per the request of the city council, we've gone back and gave you more detailed information this go around. We had made the request, or had looked for the opportunity for approximately $10,000. There was a request asking what was the total budget for the entire project, and that should have been in that PDF that you received. So it shows you the variation. When Chief Perlins was here, you saw that would have been the chief officers, and the rest would have been the other style that's in there. So it averages out about $700 and some per uniform. We're looking at staffing 20 staff that meet the criteria. As full-time members, currently no one in probation state at this point. So that would be the total project numbers, so.
Okay.
Any questions?
Anybody?
So we're still in the point of still looking to ask for that $10,000 number, and then we would look at financing the balance of it, to whatever the balance number is on that, so.
And these are going to belong to the city, right, the uniforms?
We'll develop the SOPs and SOGs relative to the uniforms themselves, as far as what the criteria would be long-term as far as the uniforms themselves, yes. It'd be an issuance by the city to those firefighters and chief officers, as far as the duration of time of when they may or may not transfer out. Perlman's department is a full-time career department, so they have a little different SOG and SOP relative to those uniforms. We may look at something a little bit different down the road, so.
Any other questions?
Well, I guess I don't have any questions.
Okay. I have a question.
Sure,
Just,
yeah.
you know, I support the fire department 100%.
Yep, absolutely.
So my question is just from a dollar and cent standpoint.
Yep.
I mean, I understand the honor, the respect, I totally get it, you know you
Yep.
have that 100%.
Sure, yep.
But as we look at it fiscally, when we're looking at any other department needs, I mean, is there, you know, pieces of equipment, apparatus that would make you safer?
No, I think right
Those
now.
types of things to where, this, probably a bad way to put it, this seems like an extra, right? I mean, as far as the duty of the fire department to do what the people in town want you to do is show up with the red truck and save them,
Correct.
right? And I understand where the uniform's coming from, but I'm just trying to put it from perspective
Yeah.
of, all right, we have a limited amount of funds, is this a priority right now, or are there other priorities that we could do that would make your job easier, safer, change out more fire hydrants to the new system that we just approved a change order for?
That's an infrastructure thing, not specific to the fire department's operations setup. We can still make our way through it. I think that was a replacement schedule that was gonna move forward anyhow.
Okay.
As far as equipment right now, according from Chris and Joe and I and Doug, we've looked at the budget, and Joe's budget is very solid for what we need moving forward at this point. Yes, this is an add, but this is a bolus add at this point, and from this point forward, be very small incremental as we move forward. And I think we would look at budgeting that in our budget as we move forward, as the need occurred.
Okay.
So as we add staff, looking at that 18-month to 2-year window, when we look at presenting the Class A, the formal badge, all that ceremony and protocol linked to that, there's a give back from the city saying thank you for your donated services, basically. That's where it's coming from. We think this is a good opportunity for the city to engage, say, yes, we appreciate you, and this is why we appreciate you, and this is how this is showing our appreciation, so. It does meet the criteria, as we're looking forward to being more of a professional department. Looking as the city grows, we think it's important that we show that image in different ways, from a Class C to a Class B to a Class A. We see opportunities to engage in the community in major events, as we go forward with the whole uniform protocol, so.
Any other comments?
I just, look at all the infrastructure needs we have and everything in the city, and I just feel that these are more of a want than a need, and there's a lot of things in the city we need. And that's kind of been my look at it.
I would offer a comment, it is, yes, a want, but definitely a need for the agency. And in the grand scheme of things, the amount is very small compared to your general infrastructure issues you're dealing with. If you look at $6.8 million compared to a 10K, and looking at a give back to the staff that have been very in tune for meeting the needs of the community, I think it's a small token of appreciation.
Well, the only thing I can say is that I've had talked to quite a few people on this stuff here, and I've even talked to some ex-firemen that have been here in this community that they don't believe that it's a necessary expense at this time that the city should be looking at. And I know with saying being fiscally responsible and everything else, I know over 2 years ago, people standing up here at the podium wondering what direction we were heading in, and we said fiscally responsible, and I think over that 2-year period, we did a pretty good job at that. We've got a lot of expense down here where we seem to be going back the other way. One of the comments that was made, it's like here we have another conference out there tonight being approved for $300. We had a conference here, and I voted, you know, the way I did, but we had a conference for Linda to go to Toronto? Montreal, sorry. And Linda, basically, I kinda almost think that she kinda put it out there that it was not a necessary conference for her, and I almost think that she put it out there enough to say she was fine with not going, but, it was a $1,000 conference that got put through, and more, it seems like we are spending more and more money now, and 6.8 million to 10K is not a comparison. I mean, I can sit there and say that you drop a penny on the ground, you pick 100 of them up, it's $1. I think that this is definitely a want, and I do support you guys. I think that we need to get some more debt serviced here versus something that isn't budgeted for at this point in time, and look at being fiscally responsible to the community. And I do appreciate you guys.
Oh, I do too. I'm there and support you every year, and I
Yep.
check, you know, so I mean, it isn't that, I do believe that we could maybe have a few more fundraisers with the fire department.
The fundraisers are great, but you have to realize the separation of the fundraisers. Fundraisers are a relief association, which is not, it's an adjunct to the fire department. The fire department itself can't have fundraisers and receive those funds. It has to be the relief association.
But the
that runs
relief
program.
association can then turn around and...
They can, but now you're putting an onus on the relief to step up and do one more thing as their protocol
Well,
to make it happen. And I don't disagree. I would offer the comment that the Class A's are also a recruitment and retention opportunity as well, to show that you have a very progressive agency in the community, looking to grow, looking to bring people. We have had good recruits that have made application. We just went through a interview process, so we'll be moving forward to that time period. But they're seeing what's happening in Casson, they're seeing it's a progressive agency. We think this is another opportunity to progress the agency one more step.
I just look at it right now as it is a definite want right now, and I do believe that we need to be fiscally responsible with this budget that these bonds that we're going out for, and with it not being a budgeted item, we need to start watching the spending, because I believe our spending is going the other way.
I gotta throw a little something in there.
Sure.
You know, I'd feel different about it too and I think I told you that over before. When I see you guys all in your blues and that, you look darn nice right there. You know, that's the thing, and I said that before, when you guys are dressed up in the clothes, you do that, so. I don't really see a need for the suit.
Okay, anybody else, Dan? Lon?
Our purpose was to offer you the numbers like you'd requested.
Yep, no,
Yep.
thank you very much,
Okay.
we appreciate it,
Yep.
yep, very much, yep. Any comments?
Does our police force have special uniforms?
I don't know that.
I don't think they have special uniforms.
No.
But their uniforms belong to the city.
I'm just asking.
No, I don't think they have special dress uniforms.
I know, you feel like you threw something out there, they're got the right eye at you, so.
Chris, one quick comment?
Yep.
If we consider the uniform protocol, you'd reference the Class Bs that we wear. Those are not issued by the city of Casson, those are purchased by the Relief Association.
Oh.
So the city has not spent any money on that, in that regard. So as staff get issued, the sweatshirts are issued, the T-shirts are issued, those are all bore as a brunt by the relief, offering those funds forward to do that. So to this point, really, the city has not put forward dollars for any type of uniform per se for the department, whether that offers a consideration or not. There hasn't been any money expended in that regard. Historically, quite to your point, if you look back at the very old historical photos of the fire department, there were the equivalent of the Class A way back in the 40s. There were pictures that actually document that the fire department at one point did have Class A style uniforms at that point, so, from historical reference.
Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Comparable cities, our size.
Yeah.
In this area, in southeast Minnesota, how many of them have
Hayfield.
Class A?
Hayfield is an example, they have a full Class A uniform and an honor guard. Dodge Center has some, Stewartville has some. So we're looking at comparable sized cities as well that are actually offering that from their city, helping to offer those Class A's.
You said some, do they, not necessarily the whole department then?
I haven't seen
Hay-
Oh, Hayfield,
Hayfield
yeah.
does,
Okay.
yeah. Because we've been down to a funeral down there, and their entire department was in full Class A's. And they had an honor guard also as well for flag bearer and.
Did the city buy them?
I have no idea because they're structured a little differently. Hayfield's structured different than we are.
That's why I was asking, if they
It's a-
bought them
it's
themselves.
It's actually a fire district, but then they would have accepted funds from the city to make that all happen, so. They're structured different than
Okay.
us or Stewartville or Dodge Center.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to make the recommendation, I guess, from this chair, that we don't make a decision tonight. Personally, I like it. I think the guys do a lot of work, volunteering their time, that type of thing, for not a lot of little return, and to show the respect. I like that. I think we need to figure out how the city can help, and is willing to have, what they're willing to help at some point. So if you guys be patient with us for the rest of the year, we'll work out at a budget time, and we'll see what happens, and maybe we come up with some creative ideas to make it work.
One more question.
Yep.
Too. Would you need to go forward with the full uniform? Would you, at this time, is there ways you could go without the cover, or, I mean, is it one uniform, is what I
It's
want
a
to know?
uniform.
Okay, I didn't know if there was.
No, so the picture
Different
shows
sets.
the pants, the shirt,
Yep.
the tie, the jacket, the badge configuration, the hat.
Yep.
That's all part of that complete set.
That's what I thought, but I just.
Yeah.
Is this something that, you could work on some kind of grant for too, or not? Not at all?
Not for clothing.
Okay.
So that's my recommendation, unless there's another motion, but that's, my recommendation is we table it and,
Keep discussing it.
well, yeah, come back and where we go, because we do have some funds, held in different accounts, but as I made my comment at the assessment hearing, and then as I'm doing more research there, we're kind of holding those funds for specific reasons that we don't know right now. So bear with us. I think it's a good idea, and it's just not at this time. So that's my-
As you mentioned, you came to a meeting that we talked about all these millions of dollars. It's probably about the worst time you come talk to us.
So, anybody else have anything else? No? Okay, thanks. Appreciate it, Steve.
Yep.
Number 2, Minnesota Wi-Fi agreement. Everybody's got that there in front of them.
And Darren's here.
Yeah, sorry I'm a little late. Perfect time? I guess so, yes. I just got this afternoon, so I was just reading it over today after the meeting, our chamber meeting for a little bit, but, should I just go over kind of any feedback or questions I had on it first, and then, okay. So I was good, I guess section 1, under term, it mentions a 5-year term. I'm assuming we would have an option to extend that for some, for additional 5-year terms, right? We can get that in writing, I'm assuming. Generally, I mean, the contracts we come up with, it, you know, has 5 years, and then it gives us both the option, the lessee and the lessor, to renew that.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, you know, the concern right now is that we may be replacing this water tower in 5 years.
Yep.
So I think that's why we kind of stuck with the 5-year term, but we could certainly put something in there that we would be willing to work with you on, you know, a new location should.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
It does have a sort of get out of jail free card in there if
Section
we no
10.
longer use the water
Okay.
tower, so,
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to
Okay.
having an option for,
Okay.
to extend it.
Okay.
Okay. And then, section 2, rent, the last paragraph there, we wanna provide free 40 megabit per second internet connections. Sorry, what's that, quick?
I'm just agreeing with you, I had questions on that myself.
Oh, okay, on the term?
What, do you keep finish? Just-
Oh, okay, sorry. Last paragraph, section 2, rent, you know, I guess I don't know how many locations the city would be interested in having service at. Generally, we, are, in the past, for other cities, our cap has been 5 locations with free internet. I'm not sure if the city wants more locations than that or not, so I guess I just wanted a little clarification.
Well, you had mentioned some that night of what you're willing to give, you know, to do, and that's why I kinda looked at this. I wanted to make sure that that wasn't more, somebody's asking you to do more than what you kind of mentioned that you would do, willingly do for free, and also next thing you know, you're getting your pocket picked.
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up now. I guess the park, you know, that's all on us. I wouldn't wanna count that as a location. The pool and or the free Wi-Fi could just be all separate. And then generally, yeah, we cap 5 additional locations for free, is usually what we've done for other cities, so.
Is there a radius that you can reach from that? Cause I mean, if you get a list of the 5, because all of a sudden say, like, Lions Park out here, you know, or something.
We can get anywhere in town, pretty much, yeah. So I mean, it'd be up to you guys, which, hopefully 5 locations you guys would want service at, or, I mean, we could do more, but I usually prefer we cap it at 5, plus the park for a total of 6.
And we'd be looking at this as a backup type
We could,
system.
right.
Or Maine.
Or Maine, either,
Or Maine.
it supports both, yeah.
Okay.
What would you think of locations, the city shop being one, or?
I don't need to know right now either,
Yeah,
I just, you know,
yeah.
that can be something you guys work on.
And actually, I was thinking the arena, since it gets a lot of use, you know. So looking at something similar to the aquatic center, where we do have a lot of people from outside, but we don't generally wanna give them our guest password to be able to access the internet, so,
So we just make up to 5 locations, then we can let you know that later.
Yeah, perfect, yeah, I don't need that now, so. I'll just make sure that works for you guys. And then, section 4, under equipment, we've obviously worked with Brandon, WHKS on this. My question would be, being the size of our antennas are much smaller than cellular, would a structural analysis, a full-blown analysis need to be done, or would it just be you looking at kind of the wind loading on the antennas and everything, and stating, yes, this looks like this should work good? And kind of what's your process with that? 'Cause structural analysis are like $2,500, and I don't wanna pay that every time we look at adding a small antenna.
Yeah, and our obviously concern is if we start adding antennas on like a railing, then that railing could structurally collapse, or then we have equipment falling off our towers. That's always our concern, so. Let's review on what we have and see what we can work with you on. At the end of the day, I think we can probably work through something, so.
Okay. Section 5, access, it says we'd have 24-hour access, and preferably you guys would have a 24-hour notice in that case. For, if it was an emergency repair after hours, the holiday, what kind of access would we have to climb the ladder there? Would we be able to have access to a key, or would we have to call an on-call person with the city?
That's really a question for Charlie.
And we do have on-call.
What do we
Right.
have
But then would we
for,
charge?
tenants out there now?
Then
When you
No
go
one's out there
on
now.
site, it's not, on call, it's either 2 or 3 hours you'd be giving someone to do it.
Right.
With the police, isn't there pretty much someone there all the time?
Yeah, I don't know if they have a key or
Well,
not.
that'd be the
Yeah.
thing to have, you know.
But the,
Who's
We
renting
will
on
have to
the
work
tower
that
now?
out,
okay.
work out the details.
Yeah, who we have, do we have anybody on that tower, is Verizon on that tower now?
No.
They
There's
were in the
nobody
past.
else on that tower
Not
now?
that we're
Nobody.
aware
There's
of.
nobody else that has a key or a protocol
No.
for?
I mean, our other cities, we do have a key that they gave us for our, so we can access it 24/7. Not saying you guys are every other city, but just for reference. West Concord and Wanamango both let us climb at any time.
The only problem with that, is there a liability issue?
What else in here?
Okay.
It's covered in here.
Okay.
It's got $1 million in case he falls.
Yeah, we have a $2 million policy, so we're meeting your requirements for $1 million here as well.
Since I
With
make
that
a
being
changes, can
said,
I make it to
then-
10?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything to make you guys happy.
Let them have a key.
Yeah, I guess I personally wouldn't, I mean, if we're gonna have a contract, it's covered by the contract, there's nothing else you can really do at the top of the water tower, and have your own liability insurance, so
Yep.
I wouldn't have a problem making sure he has 24-hour access to see
Right.
that. And we don't have to pay somebody on call.
Right.
Yeah, I don't wanna wake anybody up at midnight to unlock a padlock for me. And then, let's see, the only other notes I had, everything else looked good, but section 10 termination. In the contracts that we have, we prefer, we have a 180-day notice to remove all equipment instead of 60 days. That's just basically if it was kind of a last-minute thing, you guys are gonna know when that tower is coming down, so I'm assuming we'd have way more than a 6-month notice, but, for our sake and for our customers' sake, we would really prefer to have a 180-day or 6-month notice in case you wanted to end the lease. So we intend to relocate our equipment to another site somewhere, so we don't, cause any customers to lose internet during that process.
That sounds reasonable to me,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Good with me.
Well, that's good.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because we'll know long before 180 days if the new water tower's going up.
I would think so. That's, the only notes I had, really, so the only thing left that would need to be, discussed, I guess, is the actual monthly rent rate that you guys were thinking about. And, maybe that needs to be tabled, or maybe we can come to an agreement tonight on that.
Well, if we got 10 grand, that'd pay for the fire uniforms.
Is that a month or a year?
If you want, I'll just give you an example of other cities, if that works, just a baseline. So other cities where we give them the free internet access, and this is actually, Caston's the only location where we do the free Wi-Fi in the park, and support that, and have invested, almost over $10,000 there. That's just because I grew up in Caston and graduated here K through 12, so it's kind of my hometown, and I decided to go a little above and beyond there for that. But other locations we're at, where we're doing the free internet, we do $100 a month. They have included electricity, included with that, non-metered. With this agreement, we have to pay a meter, and we'd be happy paying the electrical charge to the Caston City Utilities. So I guess our proposal is just gonna be similar to other sites, $100 a month, free Wi-Fi in the park, and up to 5 additional locations of your guys' choosing.
Seems fair to me. And the free Wi-Fi in the park and the other 5 locations, if we can get better access there, there's some value in that for the city, and we're attracting, and currently going through gathering numbers for different events and things going on in town, and Howie's estimate of how many people use the ice arena alone is
Staggering.
pretty mind-boggling when you figure out how many people are in there.
And they're all on some kind of electronics.
Yeah, they're all on
Looking
something.
for a way to hook to the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and I did send a few statistics from last year to Teresa. It wasn't the full-blown statistics for summer, but there was a few, in a 2-day period in June, we had, almost 400 some unique device connections in a basically 36-hour period. The new system we wanna put in, we wanna spend another $4,000 on it, and upgrade it will give us even better statistics down to the 15-minute range. So you can literally log in and look at a graph and see when people start showing up to the park and connecting to the Wi-Fi, and we can see when it peaks. If it starts raining, you'll probably see it drop down. I mean, it's extremely detailed, and I'm assuming that would have some value to the city to be able to see at least kind of a baseline on who's in the park when and how many people are on the Wi-Fi. And, it's not gonna show everybody, because not everyone's gonna connect to the Wi-Fi, but it will at least give you a baseline, and I think that's valuable information to have.
Okay. Any other comments on this? Any other questions for Darren? Okay. Then I guess I would entertain a motion to approve the water tower equipment location lease with Minnesota Wi-Fi as amended, section 1, we'll add an option to renew. Section 2, $100 a month plus the electric. And then the bottom, up to 5 locations for the Wi-Fi at the buildings, in addition to the water park. Section 4, work with Brandon on the engineering requirements for that. Section 5, provide a key so you have 24-hour access. And Section 10, amending it to 180-day notice for renewal if something would change.
You're gonna change section 7
7
to 2 million?
Yes, that's good. Section 7 to 2 million, and Section 10 to the 180 days versus 60.
That covers everything I had of notes. Unless you guys have anything else you wanna look at?
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Doug. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And they'll have the language updated and see your signature.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Section G, number 1, write-offs. Nancy.
Hello, Nancy Sowarski, Finance Director, City of Casson. We have 2 pieces tonight, so I'd ask that you consider each separately. Just a little background is we do have individuals that sometimes don't pay their utility bills, and more often than not it's related to people leaving. And our deposits certainly don't cover what some of the usage could be. So for those that own the property, our tool throughout time is to assess delinquent amounts, and we usually do pretty well with that, other than the exception, which is the second piece today. But with others like renters that leave and have unpaid bills, they do get monthly bills. We do send them to collections. It's not a real productive possibility, but we collect about 2 a year maybe through our collection agency. And then we have this opportunity to send information to the state. It's called a offset. And we need certain pieces of information to be able to do that. So a lot of our older accounts, we didn't have the full amount of information to be able to do that. But as we get new customers, we do get that. But what they do is, it's a program, and we're allowed to send amounts to be collected to the state, and they will offset it against their income taxes or their renter's credits, which has really been beneficial for us. Very beneficial. So we do try and collect on these, but about once a year we try and go through and prepare a list of those that have maybe filed bankruptcy, the amount is too low for anybody to bother trying to collect, or they maybe had a balance before but we've collected enough but it put it below the threshold and then we can't collect, or a lot of them are frankly we just can't find them. The collection agencies can't find them or whatnot, and they've reached the statute of limitations. So you have a list of a few that we're asking and requesting for write-off, and the second page It's just from a different source, but they often come, have the same amounts. Our utility billings clerk originally prepared the first list, but then I asked them to go back to revenue recapture in our collections agency to make sure we picked up everybody. So the first request is just to approve the write-offs in our accounts.
Okay, any questions for Nancy? I don't see that there's a lot we can do about it.
I what's the deal on page 3 there?
With, which question?
Well, I see Domino's Pizza.
That, they had a new buyer and the seller didn't pay their bill.
Oh, it isn't actually their bill.
It's not the current owner's bill, no.
Okay, I just kind of threw me when you got
Sure.
the bill in there for.
I actually got a call from somebody in the community who had the same question.
Okay.
So this is essentially making it official that we can write these off.
Any other questions? Okay, and number 1, approve the write-offs of the accounts deemed uncollectible. I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Dan. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Doug. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
Great, thank you. The second piece is a little trickier, and tonight you have a couple of choices at the end of our brief discussion, and I'll keep it brief. This particular property is a delinquent account, so they had delinquent utilities, and just kept never paying. And then we also had lawn work. Well, it moved into forfeiture at the county. So foreclosure is when they don't pay their mortgage. Forfeiture is when they don't pay their taxes, and after about 5 years, the county proceeds with forfeiture on properties. We had an instance probably about 5-6 years ago where we had a developer with about 8 properties that didn't pay what we had assessed to those properties from construction. It was about $16,200 per lot. And that they went into forfeiture as well. The developer didn't sell the properties and didn't pay the taxes, and the properties were forfeited, and at that time the EDA chose to take those properties. There's a whole list of rules about who gets first dibs on forfeited properties. And we city can only use it for certain things. And so we were approached with by the county with this, and usually the only thing we can often use it for is park land, and it's right in the middle of the city block. It wouldn't be appropriate for park. So we didn't do that. But they're trying to sell it now, but when it goes into forfeiture, it essentially goes to the state. The state owns it. The county really just administers it all. And when it goes to the state and it's forfeited, all these assessments, this $5,600, is essentially written off. They zero it out. However, the city has the opportunity to go through the process of reassessing the full amount to whoever the future buyer might be. And that's always a consideration. You know, what's the property? Do they feel it was of value? You know, should they do it? You know, you have all sorts of questions. In my time here, I've never seen the city have to even address this situation. We're very fortunate. We have very little in the way of forfeitures, except that one, and it worked out that the EDA could use it. But I'm asking if you're interested in possibly reassessing in the future, just to kind of have the discussion now, or maybe you want to decide now so that we know when it actually sells. I bring it back to you and we reattach this $5,600, which means that the new owner would pay for it.
So, the process though, so does the new owner buy the property and then we show up knocking on their door a week later and say, hey, by the way, we're gonna reassess this for $5,600? Or is it in the closing with the title company that says, hey, here's the sale price of this property, but you're also gonna have up to another $5,600 and you can roll that into your closing?
No.
It's after they buy it.
It's not even on the books right now. City has the authority to reassess later. And now when the county sells it, they will certainly let them know that there's a history with the property. Here's the additional interesting thing, if it got zeroed out, but if we choose to assess anything else, they'll try and collect it with the sales price. It's got 2,500 of lawn, that's out of our nuisance ordinance. We will probably be paying to have the lawn mowed there again this summer until such time that the property sells.
The state owns it, right?
What's that?
The state owns it now.
No.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, then tell them they can come mow it.
No, because,
Well,
but
I mean,
that's
if we
why
can't
we
roll
have
this $5,600, I mean, we're talking about saving money, right?
Right.
So we're giving away $5,600, basically the state's forcing us to zero it out and then saying, knock, knock, who's there, after somebody buys it, if we wanna recoup our costs.
That's right, that's right. Well, I don't think
So we're
they're-
made to still maintain the property.
I don't think they're gonna come out. Also, this is the property I mentioned a couple of months ago, I think it was maybe at our planning session, that the county is going to force the new buyer to demolish the home because of, the infrastructure damage in it with I mean, I guess the main floor is incredibly bowed and ready to fall in. So, there are all these things. So, I just wanna throw in those other considerations, and you can choose to write it off right now, because we actually hold it on our books. I know they've taken it off, but it's still kinda hanging on our accounts.
Okay, all right. I've
Or
heard
you
enough.
can say you definitely wanna reassess, or you can say you wanna talk about it later.
I've heard enough. How do you, somebody comes to town and buys a lot, gonna build a house, and we say, welcome to Casson.
Here's $6
I
grand
know.
to you on.
$5,600 we wanna collect.
Well, plus
So-
it's such a blight right now in that neighborhood that it's, I mean, if we get somebody in there to knock it down and put a nice house in there, huge for the neighborhood in the area, I'm sorry, but I mean, I've worked in that thing underneath that floor years ago, and it was dangerous back then just to get down in there, you know, that's probably 15 years ago.
The quicker we can get it back on the tax rolls, the better.
Yeah.
That's our best.
Well, and it's council's choice though, so
Right,
that's
yeah,
why I wanted
so-
to bring it to you.
Anybody else have an opinion, or?
I agree
I'm with you.
Talk.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the state gets this, and then how do they go about getting rid of it, the state? What do they?
The county will sell it for them, and then, there's a whole pecking order as to where any of the money goes first. And actually, the reason I bring it up is like, we're last on the totem pole.
But if we
really
haven't good
are.
enough for it, so we could say we reserve the right to assess in the future, but we wouldn't have to assess it.
Do you want me to come back and ask? That's kind of, if you wanna say that, we can leave that.
I'm just saying, we could reserve the right to assess it, but if we write it off tonight and there's money left, we've already written it off, we get nothing, regardless of what happens.
Well, we can reassess it in the future too, yeah.
Not
I
if
mean,
we write it off tonight.
it would be off books, we'd take it off the, 3,100 is on their utility account. We'd take that off, but that doesn't mean we couldn't still reassess it later if you so chose. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know the window to do that.
I mean, what are the taxes on it each year on it as it is, what is it, $400 or $500 if that, I mean, you come in then, I guess, I don't know, I mean.
But you're saying you would reassess it, so even if they sold it and there was money left, we still might never get it, because
That's
they've
right.
already written this off, they don't even show it as a debt. So when we write it off, it ain't gonna matter, we'd have to reassess, is what you're saying. No matter how we do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a property over there that you're looking at, buying a lot, then have to stick an instant $5,000 into it, unless you tear it down yourself to have it demolished, if not more, to have that house hauled out of there. And then the city's going there sticking with another $6 grand, takes more of the value out of that purchase. I mean, I'd rather be up front at the auction and say, here, we're gonna assess this thing when you guys buy it. And throw it right in the mic, then have to come back and slap them in the face with it. And I don't like that, that's dirty.
Yeah, I don't understand how that can even be. You do a title search on something when you buy it.
Okay, thanks, Nancy.
Okay, so no decision on the second one.
Well, do I have is there a motion?
Just check.
I think
we should make a motion just to write it off, be done,
I'll
And
second
not
that
bring it back.
motion.
not bring
Okay.
it back, just done.
Walk away.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to write it off, walk away, be done with it. We won't ever slap that, whoever buys that pile of whatever it is there, with $5,600. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you for your guidance.
Never knew that existed.
And I hope we don't have to do it again.
Yes.
Probably the worst.
On to H, Mayor's report, the only thing I've got is, I didn't have it on there, but I attended the pre-construction meeting last week on Thursday. My first one ever. Wow, was that exciting.
Linda said the same thing.
And I just can't believe how well contractors get along, playing in the same sandbox, and they're all communicating good, and
Right now.
they're all on the same
Right
page.
now.
So I'm looking forward to this big project going very smoothly with no phone calls to us. So I'm sure Brandon will share Tyler's phone number in a minute.
Right behind you.
So, and then the only thing I wanted to share that Scott Lamplin had told me after the meeting, and he just wanted me to reiterate that, to make sure that, you know, he says, make sure you know, young man, you understand that, you know, they're the contractors, Tyler's the point guy, so if we're getting phone calls for complaints or whatever it is, send them to Tyler, and let him go from there. He said, 'cause the worst, he told me, he says, you never done this before. I said, nope. He said, the worst thing you can do is tell somebody something, even though you didn't promise them anything, they assume you just promised them something. So, I'm gonna take Scott's advice, 'cause he's built a lot more roads and construction projects than I have, and, I have Tyler's number in my phone, and I'll be sharing that. So, that's all I have. It was a good meeting. Yep.
Just one thing on that, did, you guys get the gentleman that was filled in for you when you were gone on vacation that one night, did he give you the gas company's phone number that I gave him?
Yeah, we've had multiple meetings with the gas companies
Okay.
since,
I just wanted to check.
we're full steam ahead.
All right.
Okay, that's all I have. And we're on to, let's see, administrator's report.
I think I'll just mention Buxton, so we are working ahead with them and identifying, retailers that the mayor can meet with, or who are, responding to our letters of interest anyway. And then, we will also have Rebecca Charles, our CETA consultant, starting on May 23rd, and then she will start working with the local businesses on the business retention, that can be facilitated through the, software, so that's where we are.
Okay, thank you. Engineers report, number one.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. Nothing formal tonight for the council, just a quick update on the 2017 assessment project. Chris, as you had mentioned, we did at the pre-construction meeting. We're starting up construction the 22nd, that's a week from next Monday. The gas company is in town before the project. They're gonna likely be starting next week on some work. We do have in your council packet a homeowners kickoff meeting. That meeting is scheduled for tomorrow night at 6 p.m. and also at 1 p.m. at the library. I believe it's been posted as a potential council quorum, because you all have been invited to that meeting, so welcome to attend. Point of that meeting is to ultimately kick off the construction with the homeowners, go through a quick presentation on what they're gonna expect moving forward, let them know that the project is moving forward, how we're gonna keep them up to date during construction. We're also going to send out weekly emails, we're gonna let them know that. We're gonna copy the council on those emails, so you as a council can be updated weekly. We're gonna be posting updates to social media and the city's website. We're also gonna have weekly on-site meetings at the old water tower every Thursday at 9 a.m. and 5:30, so if anybody's in the area, you're welcome to attend those meetings. And then we also are gonna talk about what you talked about there, Mayor, the chain of command. We're gonna tell them pretty specifically, and as point blank as we can be with citizens, that the first point of contact is Tyler Baumbach, who's sitting behind me, lives in town. He's currently have 8 construction projects that we're working on with the city of Gaston, so he's our point guy in the field, so he's gonna be the point guy moving forward for the next 2 years on this project. The second point of contact is gonna be another individual at WHCAS, Jim Lou, our construction coordinator. Third point of contact is gonna be city staff. Fourth point of contact is gonna be you, the council, or the mayor, just to try to buffer some of those complaints or anything that they need, scheduling and whatnot, that citizens are always concerned about. You as a council may not be privy to those details, so we wanna handle those first and foremost, to keep everybody informed, so we don't have any email chains going around. Scott alluded to construction, his schedule changes often, so the more that we can get that information to those homeowners firsthand, the better, so. That's what the meeting's gonna be out. The last item we're gonna talk about is sanitary sewer laterals with the citizens. That's an item that I'm gonna be bringing back to you as a council to discuss and make some decisions on what we do with the private sanitary sewer laterals on the project and how we look at fixing them up moving forward, so. That's all I had tonight. Council, happy to answer any questions that you have, and we will, like I said, have a meeting tomorrow, 1 PM and 6 PM at the library. You're all welcome to attend.
Thank you, Brad, appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
And then just to mention that the gas company, they are doing basically their own project within this project of replacing
Exactly.
everything in that area, so you see that or you hear that is supposed to happen.
A total replacement of the gas system within the project area. And they are gonna be trying to enter in every home to televise the sanitary sewer lateral, so they make sure that they don't hit the sanitary sewer laterals when they install their lines. So that's been, they've already been contacting homeowners, so we've been working through that, so. Tyler's already been emailing individuals about it, and we've been working through it, so.
Thank you. On the K, personnel, number 1, request for special leave from library board.
I did not receive that. Were you at the library board meeting?
It got canceled. There was,
It got canceled.
ARP was
Okay.
unavailable.
So we don't have one.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Number 2, Jeremy Casey, achieve Journeyman lineman status, increase grade 10, step 7, 2984. That is in your packet. Is there any action needed by us on that, or is that just informational?
I do believe that you need to approve
To adjourn it, okay.
that increase. We certainly don't want to pay him an increase that hasn't been approved by the council.
Okay.
Why wouldn't have that been in the consent agenda with any other one?
Where it normally lands.
Yep. Well, because this wasn't related to his annual review, this was related to his certification.
his certification.
Yeah,
Achievement
so,
certification.
right,
Which is it was an automatic upgrade.
right.
So in the, I wanna ask, in the contract with the union, then when he achieves his journeyman status, since we have 3 now, does he automatically get the increase?
Of that, makes him eligible for an increase, yes.
So he doesn't automatically get to be paid journeyman scale?
So are you asking, why am I asking the council for approval to pay?
No, it's
Oh,
like,
okay.
we have 3 journeyman linemen already, with him being an apprentice, getting his journeyman's license. Do we have to recognize him, the questions are, and pay him this pay scale?
I don't have the, union agreement with me.
Nor do I.
Because like in the electrical field, you have 1 journeyman, 2 apprentices. I mean, I don't know what it is in line work, but do we have to pay him that? Since we already have 3 journeymen, are we recognizing him that?
I believe that there is and we'd have to look at the contract, but I believe there was a thing because he had to go up so many steps with each month and so many credits that he got, and he's already on the same scale as the journeyman, he was just lower on the steps. So this would just be moving him, he's already at the 6th step, this would just be moving him to the top, the 7th step. But I'd have to look at the union contract,
would
but I think
too.
it's in there that it does say that after he achieves this, he gets that amount.
Once he gets his journeyman status, we're required to pay him for journeyman status. I just would like to make sure that that's what
Okay.
it is.
All
Well, I
right,
hate
so
to
we
get-
can bring it back to the next meeting.
I'd hate to get my journeyman status and not get paid for it.
Well, that's not, he can leave.
Oh, wow. I'd be a little lit.
Well,
Yeah.
it doesn't really, I mean, that's up to the owner of whoever's paying him the paycheck.
I get that, but, I mean, it's just
I'm
like
just
our
asking.
journeyman.
I'm just asking,
When we
so.
get people reaching journeyman, we're more than happy to pay them for reaching that level.
And I agree, I'm in the same field.
In another sense, you probably got 2, what'd you call the ones under him?
Apprentices.
Apprentices can go with him then too, though, right?
Actually, we don't have enough apprentices.
Yeah, but I mean, that's, a couple apprentices can work underneath him,
Mhm.
then,
Yep.
I guess that's what Coy's coming from.
I mean, I'm all more willing to approve it, just to make sure you just check clarification. I mean, make sure it is what we have to do, I guess. I don't think, it's their contract, I'm just asking the questions.
I guess I'm along whether we have to or not, I would make a motion that we move forward to increase his pay, to keep him as a journeyman here, I mean.
What is the pay difference, what's he making?
Right now, he's at $28.90 an hour. He would
Wow.
move to $29.84. So it's about 70, 80 cents
Okay.
different.
I'm fine with moving forward with it, I mean, we don't need to lose him, and I'm just asking the question, maybe you can clarify for next time, but I'll
I
second.
get what you're saying.
I'll
I
second
do.
Dan's motion.
I do. I
90
get what
cents,
you're
I mean,
saying.
I'm fine with that, but I just want.
You're right.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
You made the motion. That's right, never mind.
I second.
Sorry. We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. No, that's all right. I got a little, just listen to you guys talk. Accept resignation of training officer for the fire department, K number 3. That was, Chris Myers, stepping down from the office of training. As being officer of training, this will affect as May 1st. Thank city for the opportunity to hold the position for the past couple of years. So, I'll entertain a motion to accept Chris's, resignation from the training officer position.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion carries.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes,
Thank Chris
thank
for
you.
that. And then L, attorney, number what? We're gonna go into closed session.
Performance evaluation review.
Okay, do we have to do all 3 of these separate? Can I just make one statement of why we're going into closed session, or do we have to open it back up in between each one?
We have to open it up between 1 and 2, because number 1 is gonna be recorded, and the other 2 are not gonna be recorded.
So we're going to close session for performance evaluation.
Correct, but I am going to open the meeting as per my,
And
choice.
she has the right
I do
to
have the
do that.
choice to open it, so I am
Okay.
gonna open it.
So we'll not go
So
into
now it's
closed
not.
session. Thank you.
The technicality, I know.
Okay. All right.
I had an opportunity to update, after the inclusion of the most recent, performance evaluation that I received. I hope everyone had a chance to see that email where I sent, all of the performance evaluations that I'd received thus far, as well as the city administrator's health evaluation, and then the 1-page updated summary that I did, to incorporate the, updated evaluation.
And I did provide you with copies if you wanted to pass those around. I think there's some in front of you. Yeah.
Would anyone, I have, a copy for each of you of everything, if you want.
I've got it here.
We're good.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so you've got the summary. This is the first one of these I've been through, so what's the standard protocol? What do we, you're the city attorney usually.
I would discuss if you have any, concerns about anything you see in the performance evaluation, and then, at times,
Okay.
contracts are renewed. I think that your renew date is not until November.
Correct. So this is 6 months, okay, all right, got it.
Mhm.
So this evaluation period, as far as how am I gonna say this? Seems like we dropped the ball, that this should have been done back in October, November at the 1-year anniversary date. Just in my, as far as, it didn't, so that's just the way it is, so I'm kinda looking at it as the first year, where we at. Looking through the feedback and the different things in here, and I attended all but 2 meetings last year of the city council, and I'm just, I guess I'd like to encourage more communication from everybody, I guess, as far as, if we have these expectations, or you don't feel they're being met, or some different comments,
I don't know, I've tried to sit back and learn a lot in the last 4.5 months, and I haven't really come out too strong on too many things and been bullheaded like I can be. But I guess I don't know if our city administrator maybe got a fair shake from the beginning. Kinda came in at a tumultuous time, with a lot of stuff going on you guys were taking care of, and a lot of changes you were making. And I didn't really see anyway publicly that there was any, steps made along the way. It just seems that if we have an employee, and there's obviously some folks that have some issues with different things, comments, and, you know, that's an opinion, and you have it for whatever reason you have it. But I would like to think that we're trying to make people better. That's my comments. I guess, like, I think if you hire an employee who's supposed to administer the business of the city, that's the way I look at the city administrator. They're supposed to administer the business of the city, and then our job is to collectively give direction. And I guess I didn't see any feedback publicly, and I don't know, maybe you guys, there was some privately, individually, or as a group or whatever, as far as, hey, here's where you were hired, here's what the expectations were, here's how you're doing. You know, now we come in 1.5 years later, and then here we are. So I don't know, maybe I'm way off base, you can tell me I'm off base, that's what we're here to talk about, so, and Teresa chose to open it up for the public, so I guess I would look for, to take a step back and look, did our city administrator get a fair shake from the beginning, and get the feedback along the way that if things are being done a certain way or not being done a certain way, did they get the feedback to say, hey, no, we don't want to see it that, we want to see it this way? And what do we do to correct that or change it, or, and then has there ever been, you know, a positive comment that you know, did something good? I mean, I think you make people better by catching them doing something right every now and then versus catching them doing something wrong all the time. I just, you know, so that's my opinion as far as the process. I guess I'm a little disappointed it hasn't been done. I guess you have your highest paid employee of your organization and they get no feedback in the first 12 months they're on the job. I don't know what you'd expect.
I think it's like any other position, any other job, anything, you hear more bad than you do good. Most people don't tend to reference your good points, what you've done good, as much as pointing out how bad you've been.
Sure. Well, I've gotta say, it was started quite some time ago, it just never got further. I mean, the first time we were told to turn something in was November. You know,
Yeah, no, I'm not,
I mean,
I'm just.
it just, no one had been in on this before, other than maybe Dan had.
Right. No, and I'm not talking, I'm just saying now we come back 1.5 years later with this feedback, and, you know, I think maybe in some way we did a disservice as, you know, and I could've come in January 2nd and said, hey, this should've been done right away, and said, boom, get it done.
Yeah.
We had a conversation, and Teresa said there's too many things going on right now, but she was fine waiting till spring. So I'm not judging anybody on that, I'm just saying as a process, in the future, I think if we have our highest paid employee on the city staff, and I'll make a conscious effort, we're gonna have a structured feedback along the way. So that way you can address issues if it's an issue and then follow up on it, you know, and then have accountability.
If you look back at our consent agendas, there's a lot of that get pushed back. It's not saying it's right, but this isn't the only one. It's something we as a city gotta look at. There's other employees that proactive, it'll go back 3 months in a raise well, or 4 months sometimes. You know, they'll move up a step, but sometimes we're back paying them because it didn't get done. So it's.
And we do frankly have Charlie who needs to get caught up, but he's aware of it and I'm aware of it, and we will get there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've come farther along, but I mean, I've seen it in the past, and it's I'm not saying it's right, it's more that we gotta work on.
And I guess I look at the comments that are made here, and again, that's why you have an evaluation, it's personal, you have your opinion and that type of thing. And I guess I would encourage everybody, you know, for everything that was, hey, I think this needs improvement, which, we all need improvement. And then there's nothing to say, you know, Teresa's not perfect, and she knows that. Let's
I think she's doing an awesome job with all she has to cover. I wouldn't wanna take her place.
We wouldn't want you
No.
No, I guess part of it comes up that you gave us the impression you were gonna cover more of Mike's stuff though too. And we've paid out a couple times here now for some of that work to be done. And then I think another thing in there was that, in doing her job, there's a lot of question on, why is, nothing against you, but why is Melanie contacted on every little thing, and, you know, it just, why are
Well,
we paying
I don't
someone
know.
else to make some of these,
If-
and that was not legal decisions, you know what I mean?
But if I was Teresa, I'd wanna make sure that my back was covered in every direction, so I would be talking to Melanie, I would be talking to Charlie, I would be talking to Chris.
And that's where,
I-
or the council as a whole, sometimes,
Yes,
is
but-
all it would take.
But sometimes you can, if you're working on a project, you don't have to wait until the council meets to get things in the works. If it's going to take talking to Melanie, Charlie, Chris, to get things going, so when you do hit the city council, you are prepared. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not saying that it was a council measure, I'm just saying it could have been a decision, or.
Yeah, I agree with Doug.
Um,
There's been, I think, a lot of, from the interview process of her knowledge of city, law and whatever else, and I thought she was more adept to being able to make those decisions without having to go get that, backup. I do believe on some of these things here, the feedback is if she meets six standards, that's the comment that, is being made to her right now, but I do believe, like expressed in the interview, that I felt that she was more knowledgeable when it come to the city administration than what I have seen. On some of these other ones here, I do believe that as the administrator, that when she is unavailable, she should be able to let us know, so we don't bother her. For one thing, I didn't put that on there as a more, wherever it's more for when she has her own time to, we shouldn't be bothering her. She should be able to go off for a week or 2 weeks, whatever, not be bothered unless it's the mayor saying, hey, I need this answered. And, I have seen that, I put in there for adaptability being set on one way. I have seen that the not adaptable to other people's ideas. One I'm gonna use was, last month's planning commission meeting, we had an issue with a sidewalk that, did not need to be put in place on Rich Massey's property. And our planning commission, I think, did a very good job at discussing this. And our recommending body, got blindsided by city administrator and the mayor by bringing it up at city council when the planning and zoning unanimously went the other way. And I do believe that, I felt blindsided at city council that night big time. And that was set in stone basically by the recommending body of how we were gonna go, and then when you brought it up, it was Teresa's idea, what she wanted at that meeting. And your recommending body is P and Z, not the city administrator, and if she didn't like the way it went, she shouldn't have come to you. It was the P and Z's decision. So I wasn't happy with that. I do believe some of the taxes she takes on probably aren't necessary, but I could be misinformed. And one of the things I've gotten feedback from some of the developers in town here, not just one, not just two. Teresa, I don't know how you're on confrontation. I don't think that you know, this is my personal opinion and theirs, that confrontation, she gets taken back with confrontation. And, couple of the people I've talked to felt like now that they've kinda got their dander up, now she's kinda gunning, one guy's word was, she's gunning for him. So, I do believe she has her strong points, I didn't say dissatisfactory on everything. But I do feel that in the interview process, from what we were told, we received some, and some I don't think that, possibly she's capable of doing.
I gotta agree with you on that, Corey, because there's more than one that think that they're being done for it. So.
Okay.
And then we can take a step back. I thought we started out on a pretty good relationship, me and you know, and I think it's deteriorated, if anything. So I just thought I'd let you know that on a personal level and things that have transpired between us, so.
And I will say, I'll comment her on the time with the paper, with the telephone, she's very direct and concise, which some people take wrong, which I did. So I do commend her on her, how she applies, when she knows the stuff and she needs to get it to you. Now that I know how she does it, I'm thankful for her doing it that way, because that's the way she should do it. But I took it back the way she'd come across me the one time, she explained it to me and I understood that. So I'm not saying, you know, everyone's got their good qualities.
And the administrative problem we had here, she took her gloves off and went right after that and got it taken care of, you know, so. Yeah, we don't wanna sit here and go like this, but there was some things that needed to be aired.
No, I think she handled the Mike Martin deal.
Why didn't we could say it?
Very well, I mean, everyone knows it. If I could say it, it's open.
Me and Teresa butt heads, but we've come back.
What? You, honey.
We've come back.
Yeah, we do. Yep.
I think she's very adaptable, I really do. I really think she's, everybody has hitches. I don't care who you are. Nobody's perfect at their job, and if they are, go ahead and run for president. Make my day. But everybody is learning. It's a learning process. She's learning about the city. She takes on an awful lot of things that I don't think she'd have to take on. She's trying to cover her bases. Yes, sometimes she has a strong head, but I'd rather have her have a strong head than a weak head. If she believes in something, she goes for it.
Okay. Dan, anything to add?
Oh, I've had really good luck. Anytime I call her, if she's not available, she gets back to me at her earliest convenience. She emails me back. You know, we maybe not always agree, but we've learned to agree to disagree. But for the most part, I've had really good luck, really good work rapport with her.
Okay. I've only had 4.5 short months, so, and we definitely do not always agree on certain things. And I just take it on as a responsibility of us, is that interestingly, I'm not a big fan of these type of, the process of these types of evaluations, check the box, you know, meet, exceed, unsatisfactory. I think this is more what we need, and I think if we do this more often, especially with our, I mean, really, we're supposed to supply direction, and she should not question what our direction is. If we have more conversations like this, open, public, right here, between the two of us, professionally, and we can say, you know, I didn't like that, do you like it? And, you know, and we can work on it, you know, if, notification when you're out of the office, shoot the council an email and say, hey, I'm gonna be on vacation for a week, have a great week, see you when I get back. I mean, if that helps make something, you know, the communication better, that's a small thing, we can take care of that tonight, you know, boom, it's taken care of. Some of the other things, but as we work through them, if there's, you know, 1 or 2 specific things you'd like to see different, let's talk about that, and
I have one.
yeah, I mean, so, I think if we work together, I think we can get on the same page and all go the right directions. I think everybody in this room wants what's best for the city of Casson going forward. I don't think anybody ran for election saying we really wanna mess this up. And I don't think anybody applied for a job for the abuse that you take working for the city, you know, and I've learned a lot in the last 4.5 months as far as, you know, the calls to the attorney and that type of thing. I don't know enough yet to know when that's necessary or not, but I do know that there's a lot of people always trying to catch somebody at the city doing something wrong so that they can benefit from it. So, and I think some of the situations we've had, there's been some situations with certain way things are said that maybe the attorney was necessary. But, you know, we can also work on that. Before you know, we can talk about that at our next meeting and come up with a protocol. we can cut down on those first calls, maybe use me as a sounding board. I wasn't available a lot the first 3 months of the year, so that probably hurt that too. So, that's my 2 cents. I mean, Teresa and I don't agree on everything, but even just, when I ran for office as mayor, I said, you know, that reasonable people can agree to disagree and still get along. You don't have to take it personally, it's just professional, and then you can agree to disagree and walk away from the table and still be cordial, and you can just agree that you don't agree. 'Cause if everybody at this table agreed on every single topic,
We wouldn't need to be here.
right, it'd be a really easy place to live, wouldn't it? If everybody, be nice for one day. So.
I sat in some meetings where it was that way.
So, going from there, next step, you know, I think going forward, I'd like to have something like this more probably on a quarterly basis where we add it to the agenda. And that's just to keep everybody on the same page, that we just do an update. You know, hey, is there anything that we wanna get out there?
Your dirty laundry session?
Well,
There you go.
no, but, you know, it goes
True.
both ways, you know, and I'm sure Teresa probably has some things where she wishes myself would do something different, or I wouldn't have emailed her 5 times a day, maybe saved them all up for one email and not bothered her, 'cause she, you know, I talked to her several times, they had some stuff we're trying to get ready, and my brain kinda works shotgun every now and then, where I have a thought, and then 20 minutes later, I have another thought, and, she's probably thinking,
But yours probably works like mine, that if you don't send it right away, it's gone.
yeah, so, and I'm sure it can go both ways, and we would look for that direction as well, coming back this way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a two-way street, so, but.
Oh, sorry. Can we have her do, just to keep the whole council into a loop, like once a week or once every 2 weeks, kinda send out a summary of what's going on, where we're at on certain things? Sometimes it's just handy, you know, some people ask questions and then we have to call her. Sometimes there's a summary of where we're at. Sometimes it's easy just to quick answer people instead of calling her. You know, I'm not saying every week, some weeks she's gonna be busy, but if it's just kind of a,
Well, that actually, you know, we're bi-weekly at the meeting here, I guess.
but it's nice sometimes in a quick email to send out where we're at.
That week in between the meetings on Friday
Yeah.
before you leave, just say, this is what happened this week.
Okay.
I mean, that's.
If you're available, I mean, obviously, this time, you ain't got time.
I can do that on a
but-
Friday, yeah.
It's just,
Or Thursday, if I'm not available.
it's a quick little update for everybody to know where we're at and.
Okay, so, I mean, I would like to see that going forward, that we have more open dialogue as far as, progress or where we're working toward going forward. So now the question, but.
No, I'm gonna ask in a minute.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
You're done.
Have you stepped aside a minute, or?
No, I'm done. I'm done.
Who wants to fight when Sue's done? Come on.
So where did this evaluation go to? Is she up for a raise, or what?
I think the contract is at the anniversary, which was November, is when that should have been determined.
So that's where this is at?
That's where this is at now, is if there's gonna be a recommendation to, and again, the language, is
The
it
step
step
increase,
lane?
step lane.
Okay. A step increase.
No, I wanna, well, I was gonna shake his head at me. But I wanna know why we're paying the city administrator on a union scale.
On a,
Could you want step grade, this and that, is that?
That's not a union scale on,
I mean, everybody who's paid has got this step and this grade
Right.
and whatever else, I mean, can't we just say $2 an hour, or $10,000 a year, or, I mean.
how does that work?
I think it's
'Cause that's a
structured that way, isn't it?
Structure that we,
Who
all
structured the
city is.
contract?
And I didn't shake my head.
It's in the contract language,
Whose?
Teresa.
Hers?
Yeah, you guys put it in there at a grade and a step when
Okay.
she was hired, so she's been in I mean, we can figure out what it is as a yearly thing, and you can do something different, but, I mean, she has contracts, so you can do
Well,
whatever you want, but it would have to be an amendment to her contract.
Have you guys seen the contract?
No, I haven't.
I mean, I would like to make a recommendation to table it for the next meeting to go, let these guys see the contract, 'cause I'd like to actually review it again.
Okay.
It's up to you guys, I mean, that's just, not making a motion, just like to see if we, at least, I'd like to review the contract again, at least Lonnie.
Are you all right with that? I'm just asking. I can ask.
November.
Yeah, my contract is public information. You know, the high schoolers asked me how much I made. It's public information.
I'll give it to you.
Okay.
There's nothing private about that.
No, you can just, could you email it to me again, just, or everybody, I guess?
Yep,
Thank you.
We'll get to send that.
we'll do that.
Any feedback for the council?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. So, we'll table that to the next meeting, but come prepared at that one. Okay? Teresa, thank you.
You're welcome.
I can say no matter what happens on a daily basis, you do have, I think a difficult job. You're trying to keep us happy. You're trying to keep everybody happy that calls. So, I don't know, I did not know until I started hanging out here a little more in the last 4.5 months, on a minute-by-minute basis, the phone calls, the emails, the people stopping by, and what those big emergency issues really truly were that take up a lot of time. So I think that's something we can hopefully help you with to not, so.
Okay.
Thank
The
you.
interference she runs.
Right. All right, so anything else on that? Good, all right. Now, we will go into closed session for attorney-client privilege.
Yes.
And to discuss a property purchase. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go into closed session now, we'll let you know when we're back open. And Brandon needs to.
I'm going out there for a minute.
Okay.
You don't want this recorded?
Correct.
Yeah. I just don't.
Thank you.
I suppose everybody's going there.
Yeah. Could be.
So we talked about potentially having Brandon sit in on the first.
As a resource, yeah, as a
Um,
resource on the, actually, I think on